Leah, why don't you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The meeting has been properly noticed.
Yes.
Yes, okay. For community participation tonight, Bob, have you got something?
No.
Okay, there's no one else. Let's move on to, is there any item on the consent agenda that any board member would like removed for individual consideration? Hearing none, a motion to approve the agenda would be in order.
Approve consent.
Second.
A motion by Holly, second by Kevin. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. On to Phase 2 construction planning.
Okay, nothing much to report at this time. I guess the bids are supposed to go out either today or tomorrow. We were supposed to go out last week, I did late a little bit, but I believe they did go out today. So we'll be looking at the October, maybe the whole meeting to approve a vendor and a bid. They'll be back and opened and be able to present to you at that time for recommendation.
Okay, I know I had sent an email on that Cinevez to you, and it was to be sent to Mr. Meyer and yourself. I don't know if anybody ever followed up on that. It had to do with...
The ag one?
Yeah, it had to do with, there was a school in Ohio that is being planned, and it's all built around STEM principles, and kind of their lead person is an ag teacher down there, and that's for this individual that I had gotten. First of all, Land O'Lakes, which is a place where we ship our milk to, is Winfield and Land O'Lakes were listed as clients, so I took it upon myself to ask, what the relationship is with them. And it was mainly on a marketing, and she had mentioned a lot of the other things that they dealt with. And that's why I felt, I forwarded that to you, and then she forwarded it to Steve Meyer.
I will follow up on that. I did not.
I don't know if...
But I will follow up.
I mean, I thought it'd be something that it would be interesting for someone to talk to, as far as they could maybe swap some ideas, as far as, I thought I don't know who this ag teacher is down there, but she, the gal that, or the person that worked for Land O'Lakes basically held her in very high regard, because she lived in that Ohio area before she relocated to Minneapolis, so I'm assuming she's maybe, takes the role that Steve Meyer maybe takes in this school on that initiative. Is that all we have for
Yep.
that? Okay, on to new business.
There are a number of policies that are presented for your review. We can take them one at a time, or we can approve them collectively, depending on the pleasure of the board. I don't know if, I think most of these are high school kind of ones. Pete, you kind of reviewed
Yep.
those. Jeff and I know has been involved in some of those, because a lot of those involve things like courses and scholarships and stuff of that nature, and the guidance program. So anything to highlight there, Pete, in terms of,
No, I think what we did is compared the state version of it, the new one, to our policy, and kind of took what we thought were things that were happening, but there really was not, I didn't think there was anything that was stated in policy that was different than practice, I guess that's one thing that I try to look at, is to make sure that what's going on is actually what we say is going on, and I felt that all 4 policies, that was true.
so kind of more aligned with practice. I don't think there's any significant change of practice that would be.
No.
So a motion would be in order to approve the first reading. Oh, excuse me, Steve, I did not see your hand up there.
That's
Go
all right.
ahead.
I moved to approve them collectively.
Okay.
A second.
Motion by Steve, second by Leah. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. On to graduation dates.
All right, we just, as we're kind of looking ahead and some of the WIA stuff, that we're kind of looking at how that, we moved our graduation from Sunday to Friday. There were no conflicts this year, but there would be some potential conflicts, I believe, in the future. But I think they're all pretty workable conflicts with, but the issue is gonna be next year, that we do see that the sectional track meet and graduation right now are scheduled on the same day, for 2015. So we wanted to bring that to your attention, and kind of, Pete put together this, I'm gonna speak for him, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Looking at, typically, we've gone with graduation on, it's always like whatever it is, the last weekend in May is kind of how we've always done it, which is usually Memorial Day, but not always. And so some weekends some years that kind of creates a conflict, and some years that means that graduation is after Memorial Day, some years it means it's before. Usually it's the same weekend as Memorial Day weekend, but sometimes it's not. So anyways, we'd be looking at next year running into that possible conflict, and we thought maybe that the board would want to be aware of that before we got into that issue.
Next year meaning this year's seniors.
2015, yeah.
Correct.
This year's seniors.
Yep.
So the next graduation.
The next graduation, correct. And then we went out and looked, now that we realize that one, we kind of went out in the future and looked when, and it doesn't look like that would happen again.
Go ahead, Steve.
Do you have a recommendation?
I think our recommendation next year would be to go to May 22nd, move graduation up a week, to avoid that conflict, because that will probably, typically that's going to affect probably about a half dozen seniors, I would say, at
Yeah.
least.
And the hard thing
Minimum.
about track, if we have a softball regional game conflict, you can start the game earlier, you can, that last 2 hours, you can do some things. Track meet's gonna last till 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. You're gonna make a kid choose between a choice to try to go to the state track meet or go to graduation. And so I don't see any other option, if you wanna stay with that Friday graduation, other than to go the week prior. Because the week following, you run into the state track meet, which, again, is only 1 or 2 people, but could be, that's a tough decision, I think.
Okay, I saw Steve first and then Kevin.
What's wrong with moving it to Sunday? To avoid, is that avoid the track meet?
Yep, this year it would,
So what's wrong?
depending on which Sunday, you're talking Memorial Day weekend Sunday or the Sunday after Memorial Day?
I'm assuming,
Well, there'll never be state track on Sunday, so.
Correct.
right.
So
So
Sunday would
what would be
always-
wrong with doing it on a Sunday? To keep, because you don't want the seniors, when the seniors graduate, you don't want them around anymore, right?
You're right.
And so aren't they gonna miss a week of school if you move it up?
I believe that's what would happen. You would miss a week of potential instruction time.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming we're instructing people.
Well, that is true. That is true. I would think that would be one option. Kevin,
Well, that was my question, is there any state guidelines on graduate, like how early it can be?
No, it's pretty much a board decision.
So if you want to graduate in April, you could?
The state might come involved, I've never heard of anybody doing that, so.
I'm just
I think
asking.
you
Yeah.
start graduating in
So-
April, maybe that would get their attention, but,
I mean, we have early graduates, we have 3-year graduates from, not very often here, but, so some people do graduate in February or January.
In Green Bay, our seniors are done a week early. They're out before the rest of the state.
Okay.
they're actually done, the 22nd would actually be almost
2
2
weeks
weeks. Would be 2 weeks early, would it not?
Yes,
It'd be-
this year.
Depending on the day, when's the last day of school? It's not always Friday though, so it would be like,
It's June
This year it
5th.
is on
It's June 5th.
is that a Friday this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be 9 days,
Yeah.
because Memorial Day.
That would be an option, Sunday would be an option, Nicole?
Just have teachers been asked, like what state or,
They would
No.
go with that April, probably.
well, and it would push up final, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like that affects, I think it would affect a lot of how you're planning if you're a week, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably, you know, when I looked this thing over, you pretty much had a solution for, you know, this is gonna be a problem for a while.
Well, really only this year.
This year,
Mhm.
Yeah. The next 4, it's not.
Well, it would be if you stay with that June, it depends on. if
We've
you-
never done
if
June,
you use-
though.
If you use Nick's comment of last weekend in May versus a relative date to Memorial Day, there's a difference. You know, if you look at next year, for example, the problem right now is Memorial Day is early, when you look at that, so that's where that date, like the May 22nd is really early.
For 2019, you'd have a conflict with state track. But this year, you'd have a conflict with sectional. The next 3 years, you'd be fine. Keeping how our.
If you stay your concept of, the last weekend of May.
Yeah, that's what it's always been. I mean, for the last 10 years anyways, 12.
well, I mean, I guess, Steve,
I make a motion to have it on Sunday.
is
For
there?
the
a
school
sec-
year.
Yes.
Uh,
For this school year.
Which Sunday, the 31st?
The Memorial Day weekend Sunday.
That's still a week
Now,
early.
before I say that, I better
Yeah.
look at this.
That'd be the same
That's
amount of
still a
school
week
days.
early.
So it would be the Sunday a week ahead of school closing.
That'd be June 1st.
Yep.
Okay.
May 31st.
The Friday after Memorial Day is the graduation, May 29th, so if you did
Yeah.
Sunday that weekend,
So
it'd
it'd
be
be
June
the-
1st.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're going a week ahead.
Right, so then I'm set, my motion would be for June 1st.
I think you wanna-
Friday's the 29th, right?
Doesn't that make
Or is-
Sunday the
is-
31st?
Yes,
Does
it's
May,
June.
May got 31 days?
Yep, it does this year.
So that
Then-
makes it
alright.
Monday.
No, we
31.
want Sunday, but
It's the 31st.
31st. 31st would be how we would have done it in the past, would be on the
Alright,
31st.
then I'll say the 31st, I apologize.
That's,
5/31 Sunday.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, if is there any further discussion, first of all? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that problem was solved. On to culture survey.
Just updating the board, this is a brief informational item that we talked about running a culture survey this year, just to know that is scheduled to be run in November, and we will then have that reviewed with our various subgroups in our district, and that will be presented to the board at the February committee of the whole meeting. Just a little update on that.
Say that again, when is it gonna be conducted?
It'll be conducted in November.
Okay,
That's when it was conducted last time as
in
well.
February,
Yep.
okay. Okay, review of strategic plan.
All right, just wanted to put that in front of you so that you are kind of aware, and hopefully you had time to review it, and just so that you know we are continually kind of working at this strategic plan. Specifically, we've been, I believe, what grade's our map testing complete through at this point? Bonnie?
Middle school is done and elementary's testing this week.
We started
So they'll be
today.
done this
Mhm.
week. Okay. So, the map testing is a big part of that. We are, as we're kind of moving forward, note that the building project is part of that. So, so you've kind of got the literacy, instruction, the RTI, the building, and effective educators. So those are kind of the areas that we've been updating you on. And you'll see that there's some of those in my board report as well. But just as you're kind of looking at our board reports and some of the issues that we bring to you in terms of the committee meetings, what we're updating you on, this is kind of what we're focusing on. The board is making sure that those elements are really what the effort of our district is, and that we have placed pretty much our resources are focused on the strategic plan. So I just wanted to put that in front of you so that it's something that you're continually looking at and are aware of, and know that that is the emphasis of guess, administration and really the work of our staff as well.
Second to
Okay, are there any questions about the strategic plan? Okay, hearing none, it'll be time to go to administrative reports. This is Ms. Phipps, you're up.
I have nothing really further to add at this point. It's just a very busy time of the year with many annual reports due to DPI for us to go ahead and get information back regarding the property valuations, the funding that'll be coming up here in October. So days are very short for me this time of year.
Are there any questions for Ms. Phipps? Hearing none, we'll move on to Mr. Kittle.
Nothing really great to add there. We talked about the next generation science standards. We've switched our current freshman science class. The teachers are rewriting that, or have rewritten a lot of it, but they're rewriting that freshman class to meet these new science standards, which is a little different than what we've traditionally taught in science. So that's been a big project for them, and they've been doing a nice job with that. We have our first state testing experience with the Aspire the first week of October for the ninth graders. Ninth graders will take that twice this year. They'll take it in October and then once again in, I think it's April if I remember correctly, is when they come back to do that. So nothing really more than that to add.
What's the date of homecoming?
Next week, Friday. Does that sound like
26th.
26th? Is that what it is? So the dance would be Saturday following that. So.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Kittle? Hearing none, we'll go on to Ms. Olson.
I just wanted to highlight the Run Tall 5K that is currently being promoted in our elementary and middle school. And middle school guidance counselor Rhonda Holmes and elementary music teacher Becky Rice have really been promoting this event. They've been meeting on Saturday mornings with kids and parents back on the track to try to get kids in shape and really promote the run and walk. We walked it last year. But it's really all about bullying prevention, and the Calumet County School that gets the most students involved in the walk will receive $500. So we're hoping that we can maybe win that this year.
And who's putting up the $500?
I don't know if they get that from all of the people that go to the race.
Registration, maybe.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
Calumet County
Yeah.
I was just
thing,
curious,
and
just asking where it came from.
Officer Bastian is involved in it too, and
Okay.
he'll be represented there to try to help us win it.
Are there any questions for Ms. Olson? Hearing none, on to Ms. Dieter.
I wanted to just highlight, we had 95% of our students attend open house this year with their families, so I thought that was a pretty impressive number. I mean, we always have good numbers, but I thought that was a very good number, so I wanted to highlight that. And then wanted to talk a little bit about the in-service that we had the last week in August before the students arrived. And looking at some of our big focuses at the elementary, obviously professional learning communities and strengthening those and building teacher capacity, which we reported out at the last meeting. And then one of the other big things that elementary is working on is to ensure that we have a very strong universal instructional model for literacy, which will support our board goal of getting our students to achieve better in reading. So those are some of our big focuses that we are working on this year.
Okay, are there any questions for Ms. Dieter? Hearing none, on to Mr. Madison.
All right, just a couple things to focus on there. The first is just to update you that we are continuing working on training our new teachers in the Danielson framework. We've had a lot of training at the beginning of the school year to start. We will be extending that into September. New teachers have a full day of training this Friday, and the veteran teachers are meeting after school on the 17th of this month and the 29th of next month. just going through each of those components of effective instruction. We've about half done, and then when we're through this, we'll be through all of them. That should pretty much get most of it's about 99% of our staff trained on all 22 components. So we feel like we're doing pretty well on that, and that's some pretty good progress. The other thing is just to give the board a little bit update that we are continuing our lean training in the district. We had 2 half-days over the summer. Now we're getting feedback from staff on that training to kind of move forward. They've read a book on that, and we will be trying now at this point to conducting some future training with a focus on some specific lean projects that everybody is going to be taking on and implementing in their specific area.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Madison on his report? Hearing none, a motion would then be in order to convene the board into closed session for the purpose of.
Also moved.
A motion by Leah, second.
I'll second.
Second by Holly. Holly.
Yes.
Leah.
Yes.
Kevin. Nicole.
Yes.
Steve.
Yeah.